Hey guys, in this video we're going to be talking about weapon self-defense. As always, make sure we train with safe weapons. These are training weapons, obviously not real weapons. We want to make sure that we're safe. We also want to make sure we're realistic, so do the smart thing. But we're going to go ahead, we're going to cover a specific kind of scenario. We're going to cover weapon on weapon. And I understand it may not be extremely realistic, meaning especially if you go ahead and try to match up weapons. I mean, could there be a knife on knife fight? Could there be a stick on stick fight? Maybe. But we're also using it for another point as well, which I want to get to a little bit later in the video. When we talk about weapon on weapon, we're mainly talking about edged weapons and also impact weapons as well. We're going to start off with edged weapons. And I think the main thing people need to understand is when you're talking about weapon self-defense, especially weapon on weapon stuff, we do not want to work off a block system. And here's what I mean by that, is that if I go ahead and I have Casey come out here, he's going to go ahead and let's say he gives me an angle 1 right here, and I block and I feed. Does anybody see any problem with this? Yeah, obviously, if he goes ahead and he pulls on out and cuts on the way out, that's going to cut me. Not just that, but it turns self-defense into like a memory game. All that means is that whatever angle he throws, I have to have a certain kind of block to go ahead and match it. What I want to do with you guys today is go ahead and teach you guys one concept that takes care of every single angle and, for the most part, most weapons aside from projectile. Okay? So, and what I want to do is go over this whole concept of what's called Defang the Snake. If Casey comes on in here, instead of blocking, I'm now going to simply cut the hand. Now, what does that mean? All I'm doing is I'm slicing the arm. Anywhere from the elbow on down would count. But this is obviously going to cause immediate damage and immediate pain, where all of a sudden I'm going to get him to go ahead and drop the weapon. Now, the cool thing is that if he feeds another angle, let's see if he feeds an angle 2, I do the exact same thing. I don't have to learn a brand new concept or technique or anything like that. I'm doing the same thing. I'm cutting the hand. What about if he goes ahead and throws me this kind of a crossed angle right here? I go ahead and I cut here. If it's crossed that way, it's the exact same thing. I'm still cutting the hand. If it's a stab on in, if it's low, I go high. If it's high, let's say, I go ahead and I'm slicing low. I'm always cutting the hand. But there's another thing that we have to pay attention to. We have to understand that if a person comes on and let's just say stabs, okay? If they stab, even if I cut the hand, by sheer momentum, this could still come in and still stab me. If he slashes at me, even if I'm successful at, let's say, cutting the hand right there, this could still come through and slice. So I must not only cut the hand, but I also must move back as well. So if you kind of think of things this way, if he feeds, I cut and move back. If he feeds again, I cut and move back. If he feeds again, I cut and move back each and every time. That is defanging the snake. We go ahead and we defang the snakes and the snake is rendered useless. Okay, think of it kind of that way. So we want to slice the hand, but we also want to move back as well. Now, does this go ahead and work with weapons as well? Of course. When we go ahead and we're using defang the snake and it's a weapon on weapons fight, we want to make sure that we have our weapon always out in front. I don't care if it's a knife or a stick, but we keep that weapon out in front. Think of it this way. They have to get through our weapon to get through us. So if I go ahead and start sparring with Casey right here, that weapon's out in front and I just keep on moving around and hitting. Good. When you do it, give me 1 or 2 shots, back on off, move around, so you're just not this out of control robot. Does that make sense? Yep, and keep that right foot forward. Okay, same thing, set, go. There we go. Defang the snake, does it also go for impact weapons as well? Absolutely. We do the exact same thing. Instead of cutting the hand, we're just smacking the hand. But don't forget to move back as well. So if I have Casey out here, he feeds me an angle 1. All we're doing is we're smacking and moving back. Same thing. Angle 2, 3, here, 4, and then last but not least, any kind of angle where you're stabbing on in. If he goes low, I go high. If he goes high, I simply go low. But we're doing that exact same thing. We're smacking the hand and moving back each and every time. With longer weapons, we need greater distance. Don't forget that. So as he goes ahead and does that, notice I'm already at this far angle right here. I like to be in this range where in order for him to hit me, what does he have to do? He has to come on in. He has to move in. That puts his arm, his limb out there where I can smack that hand a little bit easier. So keep that in mind as well. Distances, range are paramount when you talk about weapon self-defense. And don't forget, whenever you guys are practicing, we're practicing with practice weapons. We're not really using a lead pipe or something like that. We got soft sticks right here, so we can make contact, work on our targeting, but also train safely. I also want to cover about what happens when we have unmatched weapons. You know, what if that person has, let's say, a pool cue, and we have a little tactical folder? Or what happens if they have a beer bottle, let's say, and all of a sudden we have a crowbar? You know, maybe they have a folding chair, and and we have something like a mop or a broom. What do we do in those kinds of situations? Well, in unmatched weapons, it's super important that we understand this one little rule, and it really revolves around a question. Do I either want to go in or do I want to stay out? So let's just say that Casey has a knife, okay? And Casey's going to come out here with a knife, and all he's going to do is, when we start in this situation right here, is he understands that if he wants to hurt me, he has to be in close. But if I want to stay safe and I want to survive, I have to stay to the outside. So we're still using the exact same kind of a concept right here. I still want to make sure that I go ahead and cut the hand, or smack the hand in this case, each and every time. So if he feeds, I go ahead and smack, and I'm still moving back. Each and every time, I'm keeping that range. Because I know that distance is my safety because I have the longer weapon. Let's say that we would go ahead and we would switch the weapons right here. Now he has the longer weapon. What do I want to do? Do I want to stay out or must I go in? Well, it's obvious. I need to go in order to defeat this opponent if I need to. So how exactly do I do that? Well, in this kind of situation right here, if he swings an angle 1, could I possibly get a cut in there? Yes, but it's a little dangerous, especially going up against a longer weapon. You know, if he does an angle 2, meaning some sort of a backhand, could I do this too and keep safe? Possibility. What I really like to do is go ahead and pay attention to that 50% mark when he swings. So if he swings off an angle 1, and let's say he stops right about 50% mark, anywhere from here to his closed position is where I want to come on in. An arm cut, a hand cut is still always the exact same still priority. I want to go ahead and I want to cut that hand. So when he comes on in here, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to wait till it passes the 50 and then come on in and then finish right here. If by chance it would be a backhanded angle right here, I want to wait for that 50% mark and then come on in and slice and do whatever I need to do in that kind of a situation. So distance, once again, plays a very, very important role. But the real big question I want you guys to ask is when it's mixed weapons, ask yourself that one question. Do I need to stay out or do I need to go in? And that should help you form a strategy. Thanks so much. If you guys want more information on what we do here and also how we teach, go ahead and check out the description and don't forget to like and subscribe.